Welcome to the podcast.
Clean my glasses. Hello.
Hello. So this is a very, very special edition. We seem to be having a lot of those.
All our editions are special.
That's right, because we're special.
Yeah.
About Petey. Sorry, James. Grandma gets upset when I call you Petey on the podcast.
Why?
Because you should be known as James professionally. Petey. A.K.A. James. Went to the Galapagos Islands. Well, he didn't just walk there one day. He got on a plane.
A lot of planes.
And then another plane.
And then
another plane. And then a boat. And then some more planes and some more boats and some buses.
Okay.
And
you could have stopped after the boat. Okay. Yes, to get to the main the first of the two main islands I went to, I had to be on 3 planes with 4 flights and a boat and a bus.
So it was
actually 2 buses.
So it was from Chicago
to Miami.
From Miami to Quito, Ecuador.
Mm-hmm, the capital.
From Quito, Ecuador. And then you spent some time in Quito, Ecuador.
Yeah, I spent a day there.
And then, I should probably be in the picture. Look at me
talk
being
about
all
that
skinny.
Later, but...
And then from Quito, Ecuador to one island.
No. It's more complicated than that.
Okay.
So the flight was 40 minutes to the coastal city Guayaquil.
Okay.
Where then we stayed on the plane for 40 minutes on the ground.
Okay.
And then we took an hour 40 flight to Seymour Island.
Not just to Seymour Island, but to an island named Seymour.
Yeah.
Feed me.
Which is an airport and military
Did you know that was
base.
the plant's name, Seymour, in the movie?
I've never watched the movie.
Okay, you should watch the movie because that was his name,
My
Seymour.
friends would want... Okay.
That was movie trivia for you. Nothing to do with... Although, if Seymour were going to evolve naturally, it would be on the Galapagos.
No, it'd be Australia.
Oh, yeah, it's a plant that can kill you. It would be Australia. That's definitely where it would happen.
Yeah, but anyway,
No,
then
back to the story.
Seymour Island, we then took a bus from the airport to the dock. Because Seymour's this little tiny island,
Okay.
Right on top of the main island we went to. The first one, Santa Cruz. So
Okay.
then we take a bus to the coast.
Okay.
And then there's a channel that a linebacker could throw a football across. That's how small the channel is.
Okay.
And then we get
Doesn't
on
even have to be a good linebacker.
Yeah, and then we get on a
Throwing
ferry,
a football.
and it's a 5-minute trip on the ferry, going 2 miles an hour across the channel to the main island.
Okay. And the name of the main island wasn't Seymour.
It was Santa Cruz.
It was Santa Cruz. So you were on the islands of Seymour and Santa Cruz.
Well, no, the main island. So yeah, but I spent 2 days on Santa Cruz.
Okay.
Well, more like 1.5, but 2 days on Santa Cruz, and then I spent 2 days on San Cristobal, which is the most eastern island.
Okay. All right. And so let's start with the Quito. Quito in Ecuador.
Also realized after 2 days in San Cristobal, we then had a day to fly back, and then we spent another day in Quito, in Ecuador, before we then overnight went back to Miami, and then in the morning we ended up in Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah.
So when you got to Quito, Ecuador, Ecuador equator.
Yes.
That's where the center of North and South occurs.
The center of North and South.
Yes, the center of North and South.
That's a great definition.
Zero.
Comma, 0, comma, 0, apostrophe 0, subtract a 0. No, it's just a lot of zeros.
The end of and beginning of everywhere. It is the middle of nowhere and the absolute edge of everywhere. Oh, that was good.
There you go.
We need a shirt that says that, and we need to sell them in Quito, Ecuador. So there, you actually did go to 0000000.
Yes, I went to the equator.
He stood at every map maker's favorite spot.
Yeah.
Because it's just all zeros.
Yeah, and there's a lot of kind of quirky things on the equator. So sundials, you can, if you a flat rock sundial works where the shadow is going around. But the thing is, because it's on the equator, half of it works for half of the year, and then the other half works for the other half of the year.
So if it's facing south, it only works when the sun's in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah.
And if it's facing north, it only works if the sun's in the northern hemisphere.
Mm-hmm. Then it's easier to balance an egg on top of a nail, which apparently you can always do.
Okay.
But it's apparently relatively easy to do on the equator.
There.
But it's harder to balance yourself walking on the equator.
So there's that much
gravity, yeah.
Change in.
Well, also they have you close your eyes and try to walk in a direct straight line,
right?
Which is a little nuts, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then so all water goes one way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other hemisphere goes the other way.
So it actually does that. That's always been like,
also,
is that real or is that a wives' tale? Is that
it? Not only does it do that, you can like they had a tub. I actually have videos on my phone.
Yeah, I'll throw in pictures and videos.
There's a tub with like a hole in the middle.
Okay.
And if it's on the equator,
the
water goes straight down.
There's no
straight down. No spinning. It goes straight down.
Spinning
if you move it 10 feet one side,
right,
to our side,
right,
it will spin like it does here.
Right.
And then if you move it 10 feet from the equator to the other side, it will spin
in the other direction.
It's that intense. It's literally feet away from the equator.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is totally crazy.
Also, then that's exactly the equator.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't do that.
So, and technically, because the equator is the largest circle on the Earth, at the in the path of rotation, you're moving faster.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because if you're on a smaller circle, you're taking like if you're the further north or south you are, the smaller circle, so you're taking longer to get around. So, do you age slower?
I don't. That sounds like a philosophy question.
So technically, you're younger now than when you left.
No, I was not there for that. I was on the equator for like maybe
you only
an
stood
hour.
there for a
Calm
second.
Down. Okay.
I saw something yesterday that if you and I stare at Andromeda, if I'm sitting down and the Andromeda Galaxy, and you're walking by, and as you're in front of me, but you're still moving, you look at the Andromeda Galaxy at the same time that I look at the Andromeda Galaxy, we're actually seeing the Andromeda Galaxy like months or years differently because of the speed at which light travels.
Huh.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
I haven't confirmed that, but it was one of those well-known science guys saying it, so it's probably
well-known science guy.
Reasonably true.
Actually, it's Evil McEvilson.
Evil McEvilson. No. That was exactly, yes.
Oh, okay. No. Anyway, so
you went to the equator, and there's a picture of you. I will show. There was a picture, and there's videos of the toilet test. It wasn't really a toilet. It was
it's
a bucket.
Just like it was like a
bucket of water.
Sink without the sink part.
Yeah, and they dropped a leaf or something.
There was leaves in the water to show it better.
It was going. And then, while you were in Quito, you also went and saw some architecture.
Yeah, churches. Let's be honest.
Churches primarily. Churches. Yeah, that's 99% of the buildings everywhere else in the world.
So there was one church. Well, there's a couple churches, but there was one church we didn't go into. But we were told how much gold is in it, like on the walls and stuff. Guess how much gold?
All the gold that should be, but is not in Fort Knox. Ha! Look at that.
All right, 55 kilos. Of gold in one church.
Now, like sitting in a pile or
on
used on the wall to decorate and all that stuff. Okay. They don't have a pile of gold on the altar. Like, worship this. That's probably be bad.
No, it's all Catholic churches now. For the most part, I think it's like all Catholic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw the Quito Basilica.
Okay.
Whatever the basilica does, I don't remember. They were having mass too while we were in there. Yeah. All the churches we went into were like having mass while we were in there, which was weird. It was a Sunday too, I think. Wait, no, it was Saturday. Was it? No, it was Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, you left on Saturday.
Yeah,
so
we were there on Sunday.
On
Sunday.
Yeah.
In Sunday.
In Sunday. You were in Sunday.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go next door to Frosty Tips and I get it in a Sunday.
Okay.
Then the
basilica had like a lot of the Galapagos animals and native animals like carved on it instead of gargoyles, which was cool.
Yeah.
But then other churches one church we went into, we could take pictures, but it was all gold.
Well, and weren't there like a lot of other animals carved other than gargoyles?
No, instead of gargoyles.
Oh, instead of gargoyles.
Like
okay.
All the boobies and the tortoises.
Boobies.
Oh my,
blue-footed boobies.
We'll get to that later.
This is my blue-footed booby.
Yes, I got him a souvenir, and I'm starting to regret it.
I got blue-footed booby socks. I got a blue-footed booby in a pilot's cap, and I got a blue-footed booby. Well, I got a hat.
You got a research tortoise research center hat.
Yeah.
Why did I do that? Anyway,
So anyway, so you saw the churches, you wandered around town,
Yeah.
and you did some food tastings there.
Yeah. So the first day I did chocolate tasting.
Okay.
But like it's real chocolate.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Actual chocolate.
And one of them was chili chocolate. That was
Okay.
spicy.
Yeah.
I did not like it. My teacher said it won't be spicy. It was spicy.
It was spicy.
It was very spicy.
Yeah, well, but for him, ketchup is spicy, so.
Yeah. I like ketchup's. I guess the only spicy.
But you
thing,
did all the different chocolates. So
Yeah.
we're proud of you for
I
tasting
think
and
that-
all the different fruits.
Yeah, I did passion fruit, gooseberry, and lychee. Yeah,
Not leche, lychee.
lychee. It's lychee. Okay,
Like,
'cause
well,
lychee's
I'm saying
milk,
because leche
right?
would be
milk, right?
cream. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So I'm assuming it's lychee.
Yeah,
I'm just
lychee.
assuming.
There are different types of fruits.
Yeah.
I didn't really like any of them, but
Yeah. But it's good to try them.
The empanadas were good though. We had
Oh, you
some
did say that. Yes,
we
you
had
did say
some
that you really enjoyed the
empanadas. I liked
empanadas.
the empanadas. Yeah.
And that now your excursion into animal roasting was at the end of the trip.
Yeah, that's the end of the trip.
We'll get there.
it's not
Stay
that big.
tuned.
It's not
Look at
that
that
big.
teaser. I'm going to put this at the beginning of the video. That's the teaser. Don't exit before the end of the video.
Or you
And
could
don't
just-
fast forward because there's a buildup. So you did that for a day and a half.
Yeah,
a day,
and I saw
day
a
and a
lot.
half.
I saw that day. I saw 6 new species of birds.
Nice. Do you remember which ones?
Yes. Okay. We saw the eared dove, which
Okay.
is like literally our mourning doves. They're
Okay.
like the same color, same size. Just they live in South America, and ours live in North America and Central America. Then there was the great thrush.
Okay.
Now the great thrush is basically our robins.
Okay.
Now you might be confused because aren't thrushes and robins two different things?
Now I know this one.
Yes.
What we call a robin is actually a thrush.
Yep.
And they're all named
Oh my god.
Brian.
Sorry, he has a coworker that bird watches and didn't know what a robin was, and he was like 50 or something.
I don't know. He's 40s or something. I don't know. Well, I don't know that he bird watches. He just likes the bird. He feeds the birds.
But
And
like,
he
how
didn't
do you not know
the
what
rest
a
of the birds were.
robin is?
So we have named all. So now, when there's robins in your yard, kind of, they stomp around and look at the ground and find worms. They're all wandering around saying, "Good morning, Brian. Good morning, Brian. How are
Yeah.
you, Brian? I'm
So
quite well, Brian. Thank you,
the
Brian."
thrushes
Anyway,
in
we're not
Ecuador-
picking on Brian. We had to give
No,
him a
we
name.
are.
No, well, we had to give him a name. We had to give the birds a name, and that just seemed appropriate.
No mercy.
No mercy.
Joking. Okay. So then the great thrushes there, they have like orange beaks and eye rings, but they don't have an orange breast. They're just all like kind of like the blackish
Eye
gray.
rings. So they're like
Little like the skin
like-
around their eyes.
goth, and yep, they have like no nose rings or lip rings or
No,
those
like the
other
skin
disgusting-
around their eyes.
Oh, they don't have like eye rings, like a nose ring or something.
God. Okay. Yeah, but these thrushes are even bigger than our robins, so like they're
Okay.
quite big birds, almost pigeon size, I would say.
Big bird.
No, I did see pigeons, a lot of pigeons. It was funny because I saw one pigeon with a flock of doves.
Yeah.
I was like, and my app said they're rare,
Mm.
like in like part of it, because the app's kind of inconsistent sometimes. So it said they're rare, and I'm about to tell my teachers, "Oh, I saw a pigeon. That must be rare." And then I look over through the bus at a little corner plaza, and there's 20 pigeons. And later we go to like a main square, and there's like hundreds of them in a
pigeon.
flock. Like literally, there's photos that like they black out the sun. They don't black out the sun, but there's a lot of them.
So, and your app. So we should mention, because I don't know if we mentioned this before. Your app
Yeah.
that you're in. What is that, and why are you in that?
It's kind of two apps. So the app you use to identify is Merlin. The app
Okay.
you log them is eBird.
Okay.
So eBird is this app with Cornell where you can log what birds you see. It'll track it. You can like label things. You can sometimes, even if you're not sure, you could be like a swallow X or
Yeah.
whatever. And then you submit these numbers and where and when to the database. And so you can make a life list on Merlin. That's like all the birds you've seen. It's kind of like Pokemon. While they get data and they can use this data for like censuses and stuff.
So basically around the world, people are in this
Yeah.
app and they're contributing this data, and it goes to scientific research. And you can actually there's instances where somebody will put something in and they'll actually hear back from
Yeah.
someone, like one of the scientists kind of running it, going, "So we just want to verify and clarify and make sure
Yeah.
because this was an unusual sighting or this was an interesting sighting or something."
Yeah.
So it's like it's not just a bunch of people logging birds. It's like a deal.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
It's the ultimate evolution of birding, basically.
Okay. Cool. And then so then you saw
That
those?
was in the city.
Okay.
At the equator, I also saw The sparkling violet ear and the blue and white swallow. I'll talk about those later because I saw more of them on the last day.
Okay.
I saw a rufous crown. I was about to count with my middle finger. I saw a rufous crown.
Not that kind of bird.
I saw a rufous crown sparrow.
Okay.
Which is like all sparrows, native sparrows. It's there. It's a native sparrow because we have the invasive house sparrow. This one's actually native.
Right.
I should say pigeons are invasive unless you're in Europe. Just so you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
they just live
They
there.
live in the city. It's not that big of a deal, but technically.
Yeah.
Right. Then the rufous crown sparrow was cool. And then I saw tropical mockingbirds, one with food even in its mouth. Now, this is interesting because we have the northern mockingbird I've seen before.
Mm-hmm.
We're a little north for it. I know that's kind of far. We're a little north for it in Chicago. But, like, you know, like when we go to, like, New York and, like, a little south, you can see them pretty easily. And now I've seen the tropical mockingbird in Quito.
Okay.
Or, like, just north of Quito. I think technically it's a different town or state or whatever they're not counties, territories, regions, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but I want to bring that up because there's going to be more mockingbirds later.
Okay.
I just think that's interesting. So, yeah, I've seen, so at this point in my life, I've seen 2 mockingbirds in the wild. I've seen our northern, and then I've seen the tropical mockingbird, which is slightly brighter grays, but it's pretty similar. Okay?
Cool. And so.
Also, I saw a millipede, which I thought was cool.
Oh, yes, there was a millipede. Millipede. There was a millipede. There was a millipede vibin.
Also,
very specifically vibin.
I think that I've seen this species before in Florida where it's introduced.
Oh, okay.
So, but now I've seen one where it's native, which I thought was cool.
That was a long walk for a millipede.
It was a different individual.
Just to meet you there. He was like, oh, I got to get there. Thank God I have a million legs. Or this would be an extra long walk.
This is why I went alone and not with him.
No sea lions yet.
No.
Okay. The sea lions are some of the best part.
Yeah,
okay.
So then we flew to Galapagos. Right.
But to which island first?
Seymour.
Okay,
so Seymour is just an airport military base and like scrub desert.
Okay. So it's just a little.
But I already saw 3 animals like on the island. I saw lava lizards, which we'll see a lot. Like there was a lot of lava lizards on all the islands I went to. Then I saw some small ground finches.
Okay.
The Galapagos is famous for the Darwin finches. Now, there's a couple things. One, I only saw the small ground species. I never saw any of the other types.
Okay.
But I saw the small ground. And also, interestingly enough, Darwin didn't notice anything about the finches. He didn't even realize they were all finches because all their beaks are so different. It was actually, he brought specimens back and some ornithologists were like, hey, all these finches, which are finches, are different. And, like, they fill in niches for, like, warblers and things like that. So it's like, why are they like this?
Right.
And that would trigger him to do stuff. But he didn't realize it. What he noticed was the mockingbirds on the islands, actually.
Okay.
And so when we see more mockingbirds, I'll bring that up.
Okay. And what's so? And that's why they're famous finches because of that whole thing. Okay, so that's
also
why. Okay.
I saw a land iguana.
Oh,
I know the Galapagos are famous for the ones that swim, which we'll get to.
Yeah,
but I saw one on the land eating some cactus, and he was vibing. So.
And so let's touch on Mr. Evolution guy.
Darwin,
that's the guy. He just said his name. So how did he, as I understand it, he specifically explained evolution a certain way. We misuse it now.
He explained natural selection.
Yes. Which we now tend to use in common parlance interchangeably with evolution.
Natural selection is a specific, like, cause of it. Where, like, basic.
So like a permutation happens in an animal out of nowhere, but that permutation happens to be beneficial.
Yeah, so one survives.
That one survives.
Actually, so one of the little islands I saw off the coast of Seymour is Daphne Major, which coincidentally I had just learned in evolution class, which I know also very coincidental I'm taking right now.
Right.
Which is completely separate from this trip. It had nothing to do with it.
Right.
Daphne Major, there's been the Grants are a pair that have not lived there. They go there every year for the past like 40 years.
Okay.
And they've logged every single medium ground finch on that island.
Oh.
And they have tracked every year, every single one. And they've noticed that, like, when droughts happen, only the big seeds survive. Or wait, or is it the other way around? Like, only one type of seed survives.
Okay.
So I think it was the big, hardy, dry one survived.
Right.
So the birds with the bigger beaks adapt
Oh, they tend to
And
survive
their
because they
beaks
can
grow
eat the
bigger
Okay.
in the population.
In the population.
But then when resources start to spring back up, the opposite happens. And the beaks get
Okay.
small. I think it might be
so the
flipped.
birds with the size beak that can't eat the
Yeah.
surviving seed tends to die off.
Yes. So like they've literally seen this beak size average fluctuate up and down over the past 40 years.
Okay.
They
Because the
literally-
ones born with the beak size that is not conducive to surviving
On that
tends
time.
to
Yeah.
die.
So literally over the past 40 years, they've watched natural selection actually happen.
So as opposed to what we would really call evolution, which is scientifically it would be said evolution would happen over a long period of time.
No,
Natural
honestly,
selection
they're
can be much
realizing-
more
They're
rapid.
realized, honestly, natural selection is a type of evolution. So like it's
Okay.
happened.
Well,
Evolution.
yes, but the specific category of natural selection
Yeah.
can happen rapidly.
Yeah, this isn't speciation.
Okay,
this
that's
isn't,
what I'm looking
they're
for.
not,
Okay.
they're not. They're still. They can still breed. They're still all
Okay.
medium ground finches.
Okay.
But like
Characteristics.
Yes.
Characteristics.
like
Okay.
like the beak size is changing, not the
Okay.
not the shape.
So what we would think of an evolution of along came this creature
Yeah.
that is somehow related back to this other creature that is different. That is a larger thing
Yeah.
than natural selection specifically.
Yeah.
Because natural selection can have it's dry season. Well, birds that happen to have some effectively permutation,
Yeah.
okay, that serves them better will happen to survive.
Speciation would be like a river, well, like let's say the islands, like two of the Galapagos, because like actually we learned later that like most of the islands were one big island during the
Okay.
Ice Age, but then
Okay.
sea levels rose and they became separate islands.
Okay.
So what probably happened was the finches were split,
Okay.
and then each island had different like biomes.
they bred within themselves.
yeah,
in
and
that
became
biome
different
and-
species.
Okay.
From the same species.
Based on the natural selection of the
that
ones
island.
that
Yeah.
evolved on that island.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's why you
Okay.
might see smalls and mediums on ground finches on this island, but then
Right.
the mangrove finch and the mangroves on another island.
So really, in his writings, he would have referred to it as natural selection,
Yeah.
not as evolution.
He
per
might
se.
have used the term.
But
'Cause
really,
natural selection is evolution.
right? But he was looking at the specific natural selection component.
Yes, his
that
big
might
thing
that
is
then
natural
would lead
selection.
to that would lead to okay.
His big thing was natural selection.
I knew there was, and there's a couple. I mean, there's
nuances.
there's nuances to his
Is
interpretation.
that he discovered it, and then 20
Right.
years later, one of his friends also realized it.
Right,
So then
right.
he published it then.
right.
Because before he was too scared, but now he's like, he's gonna steal it from me.
Yeah.
I can't let this happen.
Yeah.
So then they kind of publish it together. So like they're both credited. It's
It's a
complicated.
thing. Yeah. But I bring that up because there's a lot of things about various scientists in various
I need
fields.
water, sorry.
Okay. There's a lot of things about various scientists in various fields, even in relation to religion, where some scientists who believed in religion would fight against findings they found themselves until they finally proved it, or vice versa. And with the evolution and natural selection thing, there's all kinds of personal beliefs came into things until the scientists really were pushed with so much evidence that they're like, oh yeah, no, now we got to publish this. Because anyway.
So we were leaving Seymour Island.
Okay.
Because we saw the finches. That's why we saw about this.
Right.
I saw the iguana. We leave.
Right.
And as we get to the pier, I see a lot.
Okay.
So the pier from Seymour across this tiny little channel, which I mean, like, it's big, but not like you can see the other side just fine. You can
Right,
see
right.
people on the other side.
You wouldn't swim it per se, but
Like, it may be like a good swimmer could
well,
just
right.
do it.
But
yeah.
your average person wouldn't just
No, your
swim
average
over
player
that
would
one.
just swim
Right,
it, yeah.
Right.
We saw magnificent frigate birds.
Cool.
But like they came right up, fly by the bus. These
Mm-hmm.
big black birds. Well, I didn't do the tour later on where they saw them poofing out their big red thing.
Yeah,
I still
yeah.
saw them up close,
Yeah.
which was cool. We saw crabs. We saw sardines. We saw Elliott storm petrel.
When you say you saw crabs, now they were like
Bright reds and blues and yellows.
so more of those colors that you tend to see in the tropics and
Yeah.
and areas like that. Just I don't know why, but it
Yeah.
just seems to be more common that animals are more flashy
Yeah.
in those areas. Maybe because they eat a lot of bright fruit.
I think it's like it's more like to display against the tropic background
Okay.
to stand out.
Oh,
for mates.
camouflage. Yes. Camouflage to not be seen or highlights to be.
No,
for
like
mating.
it's like mating display.
Mating displays.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because a lot of the female animals are still darker colors to blend in.
To camouflage.
Like the cock of the rock, for example, the males are bright orange, but the females are still brown.
Yeah.
So
Okay. All right.
And then we cross and we see pelicans, brown pelicans, which we have in Florida, for example. You can see brown pelicans.
Right.
Like there's a lot of pelicans at the Galapagos, and like they're fishing and stuff. And then we get to the pier, and so it's this little tiny walkway, and then you have to take this little turn onto the road. Okay.
Right.
Right here in this little walkway, there's a sea lion. He does not care. He's right there. So like I'm literally this table right here is the path. And let's say here's a better idea. Here's a better idea. Okay, so like this table is him.
Okay.
And like I have to walk here.
You have to go around him.
Yeah, you have to go around. They put traffic cones.
That's like the law.
Yeah, you have to make.
You cannot interfere with the animals.
No. So some of this, I never saw this, but some of the sea lions have learned that if you see someone on a bench, they will roll up in their new Bugatti. Come out.
They're a lowrider.
No, I'm joking. Yeah, they'll just walk up. They will yell at you. Legally, you have to move, and then they'll go sit on the bench.
There are photos. I'll try and find one to put here of a sea lion just sprawled out on a bench, just living his best life. And next to the bench, like a dozen students standing talking to each other because they can't sit down.
Yeah.
The sea lion has co-opted the bench. That's the best photo.
And this is funny. So now as we went to Santa Cruz. That's when we crossed the canal.
Okay.
But the next island, San Cristobal, has more Galapagos sea lions than any of the other islands.
Okay.
So we saw a lot of them on Cristobal. I mean, we saw a decent amount on Santa Cruz. But yeah. So it's kind of funny. So we were just on this little desert island. We cross and we see mangroves in this canal. And now we drive up 20 minutes and it changes from like low grassy shrubland to like tropical cloudy rainforest.
Now, and
in the span of 20 minutes.
The first island you were on, you didn't stay.
No.
You were just
it's an airport and a military base.
So you were okay.
Instantly get on the bus, leave.
And leave the other
10-minute drive.
And
from
then
the
boat.
top of the island to the bottom.
And then boat.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Santa Cruz is like, even though it's one of the bigger islands, 40 minutes one end to the other on bus.
Yeah.
Okay. So we drove up into the highlands and we saw like calderas with trees in them. Because, the islands are formed by a hot spot. But so this is South America over here. And then this is the hot spot. And then the Nazca Plate, which is the continental plate that the island sit on, is moving this way towards South America and then going under.
Okay.
So
which is kind of buckling them up.
Yeah, so the islands form from the hot spot.
Okay.
Cool off. So like the islands we're on are dormant, but the ones to the west are active.
Okay.
And then there might be some ancient islands to the east that have sunken.
Okay.
And then eventually the plate will go under South America.
Right.
So that's how the islands are going. So both islands we're on weren't volcanically active anymore, but like you can still see the calderas.
And there was, and we'll get to this, but you went in lava tunnels.
Yes.
Okay.
That's basically right. So after this, we went to a ranch.
Okay.
Now, this ranch has tortoises on it, but the tortoises aren't there. They're wild tortoises that just live on this ranch. So even though it's called a ranch, there's like cattle there and stuff. The tortoises are the...
See, now I picture the ranchers on like riding slow loris or something, or like sloths, to round up and corral the turbos.
The tortoises are just
little cowboy hats on sloths with saddles.
Yeah.
Rounding up. I'm gonna go get me a tortoise.
So I believe these were Western Santa Cruz tortoises,
Okay.
which is the subspecies of tortoises from Western Santa Cruz.
Okay.
I know, shocker, right?
Yeah.
So they're
Scientists
more
are
of
so
a
creative.
standard tortoise.
Okay.
And they eat like low plants and fruits that's fallen. We saw them eating some guava, which is invasive, but like they eat it. They don't really care.
So this is like a Galapagos tortoise you would picture.
Yeah.
Just generically.
This
as
isn't the
Galapagos
big
tortoise.
long
the
neck.
saddled one.
Yeah,
or
we'll
anything.
talk about
Okay.
that one later.
Okay.
So we had the tortoises here.
Okay.
And you could just walk close to them, and they just were eating or walking.
And what is this? Where you saw the old? You said there was like the oldest one they know of was somewhere. I don't know if this was.
No,
this
that was.
island
I
or
think that was the next island.
the next island. Okay.
Because I don't really know, but I think the oldest ones are like 109 right now. They can live to like 150, 200.
Right.
But like on this island and the other island, it's like low 90s, low 100, low 100 kind of.
And this isn't where you saw the little
No.
Okay.
This is not.
Okay.
This was
Okay.
because this is wild tortoises.
This is just wild. Okay.
Yeah, it was breeding season though.
Yeah.
So we did see some tortoises copulating, and guess how long they do it for? How long?
Was it
can
like
last?
3.5 hours?
2 to 3 hours.
2 to.
Yeah, it can last 2 to 3 hours.
So she reads a magazine.
Yeah. It's kind of funny when sometimes you're watching and the male's all into it and she's just staring at you like she does not care. It's kind of funny.
She's like, "Please hold.
Yeah.
I'll be right with you."
But speaking of, I did see some birds there too. I saw some western cow egrets and more ground finches, but I also saw the Galapagos flycatcher
Okay.
and the yellow warbler. Now,
Okay.
the yellow warbler is interesting because like I've heard them here in the States,
Okay.
but I've never seen one.
Right.
And I saw them everywhere. I even saw a chick at one point. Like they're all over the islands, which
Right.
was really cool to see.
Cool.
And then at that ranch, we went to a lava tunnel, which
Okay.
goes under the building, actually. 'Cause they
Okay.
built the building over. Yeah. And it's just a cave. Really.
Yeah. But it's just lava bored through
Yeah.
the ground, and then it.
Now it's a little rock
it's a little-
tunnel.
okay.
Also, really cool because they put lights down there,
Yeah.
like full time. And now plants are actually growing where the lights are,
Oh, cool.
which I think is neat.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that was cool.
Very cool. All right, so you were there. So then, when you were on that island for like a day or two,
2 days, a day and a half.
day and a half.
Because after that, we went to town.
Okay.
Because realize like each of the so there's like 4 occupied islands, and each occupied island has like farms across it, but then one major town.
Okay.
I think Santa Cruz is like 20,000 people in total.
Okay.
San Cristobal, the next island we went to, had like 7,000 in total. So this is not a lot of people.
Right.
So we went to town, and so it's like a coastal town. It's just a little city town thing. And like there's the pier and stuff. So that night after dinner, me and some of the kids went to a pier. The pier had sea lions on it, pelicans. I saw great blue herons in the water and striated herons, which are like all green. They're all green herons. It's
Yeah,
basically
they
the
looked
same
like
thing.
they were shaped
Yeah.
almost exactly like a little green heron.
And
yeah.
then I saw baby blacktip reef sharks in the water
Oh yeah, just swimming
because
around.
it's a nursery. It's
Yeah.
it's shallow enough where the big sharks don't come.
And they were like,
Yeah.
yeah, only about this.
And then
Yeah.
a school of wild cow-nose stingrays, which is the same species that you pet at like Brickfield Zoo and Shed Aquarium and all that.
Yeah,
So that was cool.
that's cool. All right, and now here and so that was you kind of. Oh, and you went to like the.
That's the next day. So next
okay.
day we go to the research center
Okay.
where they breed tortoises, where
Okay.
they have like so they from the wild they take the eggs. Sometimes now they'll leave them out there. They're starting to leave the babies out in the nests, but for the most part they'll take out the babies, put them in a special enclosure covered for the first couple years, like 2 years, and then move them out until they're 5, and they monitor their growth, make sure they're healthy, all that.
Okay.
And then re-release them to whatever island they're from, because realize each island has its own species,
Right.
or subspecies, I
Right.
should say.
Right.
And then they release them back.
Okay.
So they're trying to keep them wild, but the thing is that there's so many invasive predators and the possibility of human disturbance, like goats, pigs, cows, chickens, dogs, cat, like any animal we brought over, rats, all of that can hurt them. So they raise them.
When they're born, I mean, they're like this big, aren't they? I mean,
They're smaller than that, yeah.
Yeah, they're like little.
Yeah, like they could be like this big.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
Yeah, they're small.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but we raise them to make sure they're good,
Right.
and then we release them. This center did have some permanent residents, like some of the saddlebacks we saw, because we never saw wild saddleback tortoises.
Okay.
But we saw some of them here at the center.
Okay.
And we also saw Lonesome George. Now, Lonesome George was the last Pinta Island tortoise subspecies of the subspecies. He died in 2012. They tried to breed him. It never really worked. He was kind of just never interested, to be honest. And then when it did work, first of all, it was with a different close related subspecies, and then the eggs didn't work.
Right.
So he passed away, and now they have his taxidermy in just a room by itself. It's quite humbling to be in there, just with this elegant giant with his giant neck.
Yeah.
It was kind of like when I saw the B-29 that dropped the second nuke at the museum in Ohio, which, yes, we still have it, by the way, if you didn't realize.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know that. Like, I see this plane. I'm like, oh, cool, it's a B-29. It's a cool aircraft.
Right.
And then I'm reading, like, the one that dropped the second nuke on, I think Nagasaki's the second one. Nagasaki's the second one.
Yeah.
And then I see the paint job, the crew did on the plane. I'm like, did I just see that? And I turn around, like, oh, Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lonesome George was kind of like that. I mean, obviously it's a little different,
Right.
But
Yeah.
the same kind of like it's not like a happy moment,
Right.
But like
Right.
it's honored to be there.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also at this research center in the wild, flying around, I saw the Galapagos mockingbird.
Okay.
Now, this one's different. It's brown and it has like a curved beak.
Okay.
So it's adapted to, and this one's on most of the islands,
Right.
except San Cristobal, which we'll get to later. And then later that day, we went to the beach.
Right.
I saw iguanas, marine iguanas. I also saw some at the research center. But yes, they swim to eat algae in the ocean. That's why they're called marine iguanas.
Right.
You can also sneeze salt out their nose.
Mm-hmm.
Saw a lava gull, some ruddy turnstone shorebirds, which were adorable. I saw a baby hammerhead shark. Not well. I didn't see the head, but I know it was a baby hammerhead because other people told me. I saw sea turtles coming up to breathe in the bay we were in.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a great blue heron nest with a chick, which I've seen around here, but it was super low in the mangrove trees, which is also the only tree that can grow in salt water.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's cool. And then I saw that. And so, yeah, it was really cool. Just hanging out on the beach. I went kayaking, saw all these cool animals.
Cool. Very cool.
And then the day after that, we go to San Cristobal.
Okay.
2-hour ferry ride.
Okay.
Or speedboat. It's almost yacht-sized speedboat.
Like speed ferry.
You know, like the yachts you see in Chicago right off?
Yeah.
Like one of those kind of.
The architecture tour.
No, it's fast. It's a speedboat.
Oh, like an actual private.
Yeah.
Like what we would think of as a private yacht, not one of the tour boats. Okay.
But it's a speedboat.
Yeah.
But obviously it's not a yacht. There's not a bar on it.
Right.
It's not that big. But
Right.
yeah. So yeah, it took us to the San Cristobal, and there the sea lions literally on a staircase on the pier, 7 sea lions on top of each other, and on the rocks you're just literally you're standing on the pier. If you spin around, you could see 30 sea lions.
Right.
Because apparently during the breeding season, they've actually learned to prefer the harbor. Because the harbor repels sharks, sharks don't eat them,
right?
And they attract fish under the boats.
Okay.
So during the breeding season last year, there was 4,000 sea lions in a port.
There was basically more sea lions than humans.
In a port that's smaller than the water area between Navy Pier and the museums. This is not a giant harbor, and there was 4,000 sea lions in it at one point. Also, we're coming in.
And didn't you say there's only 7,000 humans on the whole island?
Yeah. Also, we're coming into the thing, and there's sea lions on boats.
Right.
There's sea lions on piers. There's sea lions on benches. There's sea lions on the rocks. The moms are weaning their babies for the season, so they're all yelling at each other. They're all sitting on top of each other and yelling at each other. It was quite fun. Yeah.
All right, so that was the pier and stuff. But then now from this point forward, now you really got to go hiking and see more.
We gotta on San Cristobal.
Well, and CSEE more MORE.
Okay, so we went up a hill and we saw the bay Darwin landed in.
Okay,
and we weren't gonna swim there, but everyone wanted to swim there, so we swam there instead of the beach we were gonna go to. And I have pictures literally in the water with a sea lion in the water, feet away from us.
Oh yeah, he brought the waterproof camera, and as he's underwater swimming, there's a sea lion swimming
they were
the other
on
direction.
the pier and rocks with us and going in the
yeah.
water with us as we were going in the water.
Yeah,
while herons and frigate birds and apparently even a booby, which I didn't see, but we'll get to that later. We're all flying above. Yeah.
So, but how cool is that to have swam with a wild Galapagos sea lion?
Yes. Also, the
cool.
species is Galapagos sea lion. A lot of Galapagos animals are Galapagos sea lion.
Yeah.
Galapagos flycatcher.
Tortoise.
Galapagos tortoise. Galapagos mockingbird. Yeah.
Right.
Then the last day on the island. Oh, also we went snorkeling that day.
Oh yes.
We went snorkeling. Yes. I saw a porcupine fish.
Yeah.
And some parrotfish and some cool birds like the black-necked stilts, which are these cool little water birds. So yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Then the last day, this was probably my favorite day. So I'm in a smaller group because I didn't want to go to boat and snorkeling again.
Yeah.
They saw the frigate birds again, but I've seen frigate birds.
Right.
So I went to El Junco, which is a lagoon in a big caldera of a dead volcano.
Okay.
And there I saw smooth-billed anis, which are introduced but still funny. Also, I have to read it word for word. So, eBird, I've been talking about, and Merlin, they have a very official. It's a science thing.
Yeah, they're well maintained by the scientific community.
Yeah, all the birds have very official descriptions.
Yeah.
Except this one. I don't know what's with this. Because it's native in other places. Like, it's not like the Galapagos description.
Right.
Anis are bizarre, cold black cuckoos with long floppy tails and unique, curiously tall, flattened bills. Gregarious and not particularly graceful, usually seen crashing around awkwardly in small groups. Flies with choppy wing beats and long glides.
So I think of, who was the pilot on Scrooge McDuck?
Launchpad.
Launchpad. That's what I think. That when he says, I picture Launchpad.
We should probably watch the remake.
We should, yeah.
Because it has all the character Darkwing Duck's in it. Yeah.
How have we not watched it?
He's in the later seasons as like a retired movie star and stuff. Yeah, back when he made the show. Like, the show's a show in universe, and he's an actor, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, anyway, Darkwing Duck reference.
He likes Darkwing Duck.
I like Darkwing Duck. So, and this isn't when you met the two.
Well, not there yet.
Okay.
So at El Jinko, we see that. I see
Okay.
a common gualing, which despite the name is very rare to see.
Okay.
They're swamp chickens. That's the only way I can describe it. Look it up. It's a swamp chicken. And I saw some white-cheeked pintails, which are ducks, which is cool. It's just a different type of duck.
Right.
Then we go to the tortoise breeding center in San Cristobal for the San Cristobal species.
Okay.
And it's kind of funny because we walk in, we see a female walking across the path, and then she runs into a male, and then the male chases her, and then they breed.
Chases.
Literally, it's a minute video, and they go like maybe the length of the studio.
Yeah.
Across the ground. Yeah. And then we see tortoises, and I see the San Cristobal mockingbird,
right,
which is their subspecies, which looks very similar to the Galapagos, but it's a little different.
Right.
And like, realize I'm standing like here.
Right.
It's literally on a rock right there.
Yeah.
It's so cool. That was so cool.
Now, but the deal with the tortoises is you have to give them a certain girth. You can't like approach them, or you can't ride them. Well, I mean, but you can't. People thinking, I'm going to sit on a giant tortoise. You can't like.
Also,
yeah.
None of the tortoises anymore, because a lot of the old ones were hunted.
Yeah.
So like obviously now like they're still like it's gonna be like another 50 years to a century until like we really start to see giant tortoises.
Giants, yeah.
I mean, they're still big.
Yeah,
But yeah. Also, so they breed the ones there, and also there's some funny stories where the tortoises can't swim. They cannot swim.
Oh.
If you see a turtle,
they're too heavy, I assume.
They can float.
Oh, but they just bob in the water.
So sometimes what happens on islands, but mainly San Cristobal, is that they'll look out on the coast, the coast, and just see a tortoise floating, and they have to go save him. Because he can't swim, so he's just floating there.
This is like from a storm
they're like,
or
Bob,
something?
not again! What are you doing? And they have to go rescue him. Yeah.
Poor Bob. So, I mean, like from a storm or something? Or they just got too close to the shoreline?
Sometimes they get too hot.
Oh,
think,
and they go to cool
I
off.
need to get into water.
Right.
Stares down a 100-foot ocean cliff. And it's like, Bob, no.
Yeah, you're a boulder, Bob. You're a floating boulder.
Yeah.
And now this is where you saw like the little fenced-in areas of all the little.
I saw them on both, but this is where I got the good photos.
Okay. Okay.
And then we went to a beach where
and how many littles do they have at a time?
As many. I don't know the exact number.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like all the ones. They collect all of them.
No. I mean, how many do they give birth to at a time?
Oh, a single female can have 12 to 40, I think.
12 to 40. Okay.
Egg. Well, it's
eggs. It's
yeah.
eggs. Yeah, because they're
I think it tends to be lower on that, but
yeah.
Then we went to a beach.
Okay.
And this was like a nice little rocked-in sand beach.
Mm-hmm.
Saw some herons and some pelicans, and we saw the boobies in the sky.
Okay.
But I hadn't seen a boobie up close.
Mm-hmm.
But our tour guide's like, I know you want to see them on the main pier and the main dock during the afternoon. Usually, some boobies come land at this one rock outcrop. So we go there after lunch, and they're there.
Yeah.
Literally, one's like on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
like almost barely hanging on, but he's fine, standing there,
Yeah.
like feet away from
Fence
us.
just to keep you from falling in the water.
Yeah,
Not a
it's
fenced
not for
area. It's a
them.
wild.
Yeah,
booby.
it's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just standing there.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And it's like
He's posing for
I
a
got
picture.
some really good shots with like a sea lion in the background. I got one shot of him and a sea lion and an iguana on the opposite pier.
Yeah.
There's finches, there's warblers. I see a yellow crowned night heron, which is new.
Yeah.
I see crabs. Like it's moments like that and the lagoon where you're like, man, this was worth it.
Yeah.
This was worth it.
Cool.
And then we spend the rest of the day chilling out, hanging out. And so I think of the 23 new species I saw on this trip, I think it was 15 new on the islands and then 8 new. Yeah, 8 new on the mainland.
Okay.
And then I saw like repeats like the yellow warbler, brown pelican, cattle egrets, great blue heron, things like that. So
But yeah, I mean things like getting to swim with the
sea lions,
the
scene on a kayak with the herons or a sea turtle popping up right next to you.
Yeah.
The snorkeling with the fish and there's little shorebirds on the beach. Seeing the boobies on the pier.
Yeah.
Like it was amazing.
Very cool.
So the last day, well, we had a day to fly back. For some reason, we half-dayed to the Galapagos and then hung out. But then it was a midday flight, but we spent the whole day basically flying back.
Right.
So then the last day, we go a little north, like 2 hours north of Quito, to the Otavla market, which is just a native, local
little market. Yeah.
Nothing crazy.
Open air market.
Yeah, it was just a market. I really don't have anything shocking to tell you. It was a market. It was cool.
So what you would expect of a typical open air market.
I got stuffed animal dinosaurs. Neat. Anyway, then I also saw the swallows better. Okay. So these blue and white bellied swallows look almost exactly like our tree swallows.
Right.
But they're a different species.
Right.
And, flying around eating insects.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. But then I also saw... So then, after this market, we go to town to have lunch. Now, lunch, I get, like, chicken and stuff. But we all collectively order and try a guinea pig. Also, I should have said gui. What's gui? It's a guinea pig. But...
Grilled. Roasted, something like that. Roasted or roasted.
But the whole thing, eyes.
There's just a guinea pig
brain
laying on the plate.
Eyes and brain are still in it. Apparently, some kid tried it.
Yeah. Well, you ate.
I ate a leg.
Yeah.
Another kid ate like the brain.
Yeah.
Guess what it tasted like? Exactly. What did it exactly taste like?
What the default flavor of the planet. Chicken. Yeah.
It tasted exactly like dog chicken. I went all the way to another country to try guinea pig. I didn't go. That just happened. I didn't. Actually, I didn't even know you could eat guinea pig until we were there.
Right.
And it was just chicken. Yeah.
Chicken.
But
there is this little. I'll put it up. There's a picture of a plate with this guinea pig just.
Yeah. And then also, but in the park there, I saw a sparkling violet ear up close, which is a hummingbird. Okay. Well, all hummingbirds are like this big.
Yeah.
This one's like this big. It's like robin size.
But they can hover and fly backward for all
also,
that. Okay.
This makes it look too. It's robin size. That's the best way I can say it. But so there's a lot of species down there. Because on this side of the Mississippi, we have one.
Yeah.
On the other side, they have like maybe 10. Okay. In South America, they have like 100.
Okay.
Including ours, they'll migrate.
Well, probably more tropical flowers for them to eat.
They also ours also tend to migrate down there for our winter.
Oh yeah.
So then they get even more down there.
Right.
But then so then we go at last after that to a waterfall, and then I see a golden grosbeak, which is cool, and then sinuous conebills, which are just like little fish birds. Yeah. And then we see how they like loom down there, and how they use all the different native plants to diet their insects. How they have the old loom and the Spanish brought in loom. Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting to see like they have the old and the new and how they mix that together. I think that's neat.
Yeah.
But so 23 new birds, millipedes, sea lions, marine iguana, land iguana, lava lizards. Like it was a crazy trip.
Yeah.
You
got to see the culture, try the food.
Yeah.
See the animals.
I did just eat a lot of chicken, but yeah.
Well, but the
empanadas,
and the guinea pig and the different chocolates and fruits and stuff. Yeah.
I see churches.
Yeah.
But some of the architecture was neat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah, in so many places other than here, the architecture has been there for
Yeah.
for buildings that
Also,
were built are still there. Yeah.
On one of the piers in Ecuador, there's benches.
Yeah.
The benches were sponsored by Kia. They had Kia logos carved into them. I'm like, dude, why are the benches sponsored by Kia? That was weird. But yeah.
And I got a blue-footed booby.
Yes, I got him. I got myself 2 stuffed animals and then 5 creatures for my collection. Including,
And my blue-footed booby is dressed like Launchpad.
yeah, and then my mom got one too, and she
Yeah.
got 2 pairs of earrings.
Yeah.
And then also, in my shoe, I actually checked. So one of the beaches there when we went snorkeling with the fishes, it's not sand like we think of it. It's like sea urchin spines eroded and stuff. And one of them is in my shoe, and now I have a little sea
urchin spine.
Yeah, because they're very strict with what goes in and out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I mean, this was just a piece of sand.
And
this
can't-
was literally a piece of sand in my shoe.
And you can't wander the island
No.
unattended.
You have guides with you all the time.
all the time. So you can't just go out and say, "Oh, I'm just going to go for a walk and go interact with a tortoise."
No.
You have to.
You're always with a
somebody
guide.
has to be
Yeah.
with you. Yeah.
Because 95% of the island's national park.
Okay. Owned by Ecuador,
Ecuador.
or Ecuador controls it.
Yeah,
owns it?
Ecuador
Okay.
is the
Okay.
country that controls Galapagos Island.
Okay.
I think we did or have or will
Yeah.
have a military base on it.
Something. Yeah.
But yeah, 95% of the islands is natural.
Is natural.
And it's
Cool.
like, I didn't even see everything. I didn't see the penguins.
Right,
Which is
right.
also the only place where penguins and sea lions meet.
Okay.
Because it's right on the
Oh, so you
equator.
didn't see any penguins?
No.
No.
No
Okay.
penguins.
Somebody asked me that if you saw
No
penguins.
flightless cormorants.
Okay.
No albatrosses.
Okay.
Like, I could go back. I only visited 2 of the islands. Like,
Yeah.
I could go back and see new
Yeah,
things.
that would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Kidnapping you.
And find something else. Yeah, I'll come with. I'm ready. I'm ready, dude. Eat something else that tastes like chicken.
Yeah, because you tried gator, which apparently tastes like
Yeah,
chicken.
everything that's just I think it's just nature was like, okay, this is like the default taste.
Mm-hmm.
And unless nature spent time tweaking it, seasoning and saucing, it's just chicken.
Yeah, this trip was also just a week. Yeah, I had to take notes, now I have to write papers, but
Right,
basically
right,
it was
right.
just a week seeing the nature.
Yeah.
I would say this was the trip for me.
Yes. Yes.
I know one of the ones next year is Greece. I
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah.
But
well,
like this was the trip for me. So
yeah.
if-
Yeah, I think you, because even when you talk about it, experiencing some of the culture in the area was great, but that the focus was
Yeah.
the biology, the ecology, the animals, the nature.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
people looking at a statue of the president. I'm taking a picture of the thrush on top
Up
of
of the person, yeah.
Or I literally when that happened, I took a picture and then I went over to the flock of doves.
Right,
And I'm
right.
taking a picture while everyone else is looking at the
Right.
statue.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So I hope you all enjoyed that.
That was our special episode. So
Yeah,
thank you.
We'll kind of go back to schedule with more animals
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
I do want to do some stuff on Monster Hunter Wilds because
Okay.
the ecology in that game is amazing.
And I can tell you, your misconception ones people love.
Yeah.
Your misconception videos and kind of explaining some of those things that we all assume about
So
animals.
yeah,
and,
we'll
you
do
know,
more
so-
misconceptions.
Yeah.
We'll probably do some Monster Hunter Wilds, maybe some other video game stuff. I like to sprinkle that in for some variety.
Yeah, yeah.
More misconceptions.
It's the video game stuff is cool because you can really delve into specific areas
Yeah.
of natural,
Like
habits and
the
and that kind
story
of
of
stuff,
this
'cause
game-
they really magnify
yeah.
that kind
and
of
the
stuff.
story
yeah.
of this game kind of
Yeah.
focuses on invasive species a little bit in a way I
Yeah.
really like. So yeah.
So you can see nature play out at a rapider pace. It's
Also,
easier to
they shoot
explain.
fire and lightning.
and fire and lightning, and they shoot fire and lightning.
You can get chased by a giant fire chicken and interrupted by a giant fire wyvern. Yeah.
All right, Pino's out.
Bye.
All right, very cool.